Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, and this is virtual lunch number 68. And I'm honored that Amanda Ellis Cuban is on the line with us.
So Amanda Ellis Cuban, I've been in the legal recruiting industry for the last 15 years. I practiced law for 4 years before that. I decided practicing wasn't what I wanted to do forever, got into recruiting, loved it. For the past 8.5 years, I was with a national legal recruiting company, growing the attorney recruiting, the attorney search part of that business. And then recently left at the beginning of this year to start my own firm. And I'm still in the process of doing that. I'm in a 1-year non-compete, so I'm pretty limited on the markets that I can work right now. But it's also been a blessing because I've been able to focus on some smaller markets and working with some smaller law firms and taking some of the talent that is now on the market as a result of the pandemic and helping those talented lawyers maybe see things a little differently and see that there is value and opportunity in some of these smaller firms, in some of these markets they may not have considered prior to COVID or prior to the pandemic. I've always been a fan of networking, and I've always been involved in women's lawyer organizations and various organizations within the legal industry, within the recruiting industry. And when social media started like 2007, 2008, 2006, just started playing with social media tools and kind of testing them. And not really, I don't consider myself an expert by any means. I just did a lot of listening and testing tools out. And so what I realized in 2008, 2009 was that law schools did not know enough about some of these tools to be able to teach students, who then students could use them. And so that led me to start speaking with some of the law school career counselors and talking at law schools. And then I decided I just need to put all this together as a book. Gosh, it was a decade ago now. But the thing is, I look back and those tools are still in existence today. We still have Facebook, we still have LinkedIn, we still have Twitter. It's amazing. And you can still use them in the same way you did then, and even take them to the next level now. And then now we have other tools. So that's been kind of a side hustle, side passion that incorporates with legal recruiting that I just continue to nurture. I wrote an article on LinkedIn about how lawyers can use Peloton for networking. And it's something that's been brewing in my mind over the last month and a half. I've always been an avid indoor cycling fan and enthusiast. And I'd gotten a Peloton bike to try to incorporate with travel schedules and such, but I still wasn't a fan because I liked going to classes. I liked the social interaction. And then one of my friends and former colleagues also had the bike. And so one random Saturday, she's like, I'm hopping on this live class at whatever time, you should join. And so I joined, and I knew that there was this friend function where you basically have friends on Peloton. It really does motivate. If you feel like you're in a class with other people. And then in May, Peloton introduced what they call tags. It's like a hashtag. And so I started, of course, seeing, are there tags for lawyers? Well, there were. There's a Peloton lawyer tag that had over 2,000 people as part of it. And then there are these corresponding Facebook groups. So you're taking an exercise device and you're taking social media and you're combining the two. Earlier this week, Monday, I saw this post in a Peloton lawyer Facebook group where this young attorney, who is in her first year of practicing, mentioned that she got a job through this group. She posted in this Peloton group for lawyers that she was laid off. She connected with another member of the group. She has a job 6 weeks later. But there is power, I think, in being able to connect over this common interest. So that's something that I think it has power to it. And I don't know if enough lawyers know that it's there and it's available as a tool. So I think there's more to learn for sure. Yeah, I think anything that you have, that you're passionate about and that you have an interest in. Through social media, there are so many Facebook groups and groups on Twitter even, where you can connect with other people who have that same common interest. It kind of goes back to, how do you first get on social media and how do you start using social media? One thing I've always said is start by listening and seeing what other people are sharing. So I am a member of like the Texas Lawyer Facebook group, and then I'm also a member of the Girl Attorney Texas Facebook group. And those are two groups that have been very active even prior to the pandemic. But most of the conversations are typically work conversations. But one thing that that it's showed me over the years really is that lawyers are on Facebook and they are engaged in groups like that. I think everyone on this call, for example, is here because you're curious and you're wanting to learn something and then figure out how you can take that and connect the dots with your own network. I think that's the right way to go about it. You have a genuine interest, you genuinely like the people that you are connecting with, and you're trying to help somebody. Where you see networking go kind of astray is if you think, okay, I'm going to jump on this call because I was just laid off and I need a job today. Come across as trying too hard. It looks like you're out to get something just for what you need today rather than a long-term plan. The techniques and tools that I mentioned in the book that I think still applies today. I think number one is just listen. You may not even ask a question or contribute to the conversation, and that's perfectly fine because you may take what you're learning and go apply it elsewhere. And that's what I love about social media. If you don't have time or you don't feel comfortable sharing information, you can learn a lot just by listening. A second tool is knowing what your purpose is. A third thing is going outside of your circle or your industry. If you're in the legal industry, maybe you get ideas from some other professional service line. There are other people who are using it in a different way that can be a foundation for what you want to use it for, or maybe what you should be using it for. I think if it's more business to business, probably Twitter or LinkedIn. If it's business to consumer, I think Facebook for sure, because you have more individuals using that. What you're doing today may not lead to business right now, but it may lead to something else in a month or 2 months or even 6 months down the road that turns into business. What success am I getting from whatever I'm doing? And not necessarily of did that generate revenue, but what did it lead to in terms of next steps? I was doing recruiting during the last recession. This is very different than what we saw then. So I think the unknown and the difference and the not knowing what to expect kind of coming out of this. In the past 2 to 5 years, we saw a lot of larger firms hiring counsel level attorneys, the non-equity partner attorneys. And now we're seeing in this whole cash conservation crunch, a lot of those attorneys are not being utilized to the full capacity. And so I think you're going to have a group from that area that don't have the large books of business or maybe any business, but they may have a particular skill set or expertise. And they've got to figure out how to pivot in order to succeed coming out of this, the pandemic recession. Another thing that I think will come out of this particular recession is the movement into legal technology. My brother just graduated from law school this year, and he was the highest grade in his legal technology class. We didn't even have that as a class. So I think as students are getting that legal technology in law school, coming out in this type of environment, and there may not be the same jobs available, it may be that it's a blessing for them to take those legal technology skills that they've learned in law school, knowing that as we come out of this pandemic and this recession, the way law firms are staffed may completely change. Alternative legal service providers, they've been around, but are they going to gain a momentum as we come out of this? And will there be career opportunities in those platforms? What does success look like in the legal profession, I think will be dramatically different coming out of this recession than it was 2008, 2009. There are all these other career opportunities that will be available, that already are available, but will just continue to increase.
Amanda Ellis Cuban, everybody, thank you so much for doing this. Really wonderful discussion. Wonderful. Tomorrow.